Guys, welcome back to AnyFlix. We're going to recap the film Sleepaway Camp, released in 1983. This is a horror slasher movie that happens inside a summer camp, with a surprise twist in the ending. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and let's get started. As the movie opens, we see empty playgrounds, deserted houses, and basketball courts in a camp. The movie cuts to a lake, where a middle-aged man named John is lying on a boat and talking to his kids, a boy and a girl. At a distant place, a teen couple is driving a ski boat, and a girl is water skiing with the boat. After arguing with the guy for a while, the girl in the couple takes over driving. The kids mischievously push John into the water. As the three of them were swimming happily, another guy on the shore calls John and reminded him about a doctor's appointment. The novice driver girl doesn't see people swimming at the farther distance and accidentally crashes the ski boat, killing John and his kid. 8 years later, the girl Angela, who survived the crash, lives with her cousin, Richard, at her Aunt Martha's place. Aunt Martha prepares the kids for a summer camp. The kids arrive at a summer camp named Arawak. While all the kids were running into the camp, the chief cook, Artai, who stares at them along with his crew from a distance, past a sexual innuendo. Richard meets his friend Paul at the camp while walking with Angela. Paul tells Richard about Judy, their mutual friend. Richard tries to talk with Judy. She walks away uninterestingly. Judy and Angela share the same bunk. Counseled by Meg and Susie, Angela acts weird in the bunk when Judy tries to talk to her. Meg informs camp manager Mel that Angela wasn't eating anything during lunch. Another counselor, Ronnie, takes Angela into the kitchen to eat something. Ronnie goes to attend a call. Chief cook Artai senses a chance and tries to molest Angela. Angela's cousin Richard witnesses this from behind. Enraged, Artai threatens Richard to keep his mouth shut. Angela and Richard run outside of the kitchen. Back in the kitchen, Ben goes outside to grab something. Artai climbs on a chair and mixes spices in the boiling water. An unknown assailant tries to push the chair. Artai recognizes the kid and pleads to stop. As he falls down, hot boiling water topples above, horribly disfiguring him. His face is entirely filled with boiling blisters as he screams loudly, and the doctor nurses Artai as he screams constantly. Nurses carry him outside the kitchen. The doctor says that Artai's face is fully burned, and it's too early to say about his eyes. Mel, and the manager, worries that it might upset the campers. He silences Ben, the assistant cook, and his crew by luring them with a pay raise. The following day, a baseball game ensues between Richard's team and a group of kids older than him. Richard's team outperforms the elders' team and wins the match, making them angry. After dinner, Kenny and another kid ask Angela to come along with them to the lake later that night. When she remains silent, they start mocking her. Richard and his friend Paul sees this and gets into a battle with him. Other campers join the battle to aid their friends. The counselors come and separate them. As the battle subdues, Paul tries to woo Angela. She responds positively, and, for the first time in the camp, she opens her mouth to say goodnight. Judy looks at their conversation from a distance and gets jealous. Kenny takes a girl on a canoe ride at the lake and drops her in the middle of the lake as a part of a prank. The girl gets disgusted and swims back to shore, while Kenny is still under the canoe taking a breath. The same assailant who attacked Artai attacks Kenny. Kenny recognizes the assailant who drowns him under the canoe and kills him. After waiting for some time, when Kenny doesn't return to the shore, other kids go to their respective bunks. In the morning, while cleaning the mess the campers made in the night, Counselor Jean sees Kenny's body under the canoe on the shore. As police arrive at the scene, Mel silences the police officer by saying the canoe tipped and the boy drowned. When Ronnie tries to say something, Mel silences him too, saying they should wait for the autopsy report. Ronnie and the police officer discuss that Mel might have been worried about the bad reputation this incident might inflict upon the camp. The ambulance and the police vehicle leave the camp. While playing a volleyball game, Judy sees Angela and Paul together. She complains to Meg about Angela talking to boys. Counselor Meg understands Judy's intention and separates Paul and Angela. In the night after dinner, Paul walks Angela to her bunk, takes her to the back of her bunk, and kisses her. She doesn't mind, and he kisses her again. Later, Angela leaves into the bunk. The next day, feud between Judy, Paul, and Angela get even more heated when Meg tries to help Judy by being harsh on Angela. Ronnie comes to her rescue and penalizes Meg for being rude. Judy gets angry over this and attacks Angela with a pillow in the bunk. Another counselor, Susie, slaps Judy. Angela angrily walks out of the bunk and wants to meet her cousin Richard. Mike and other elder kids, playing with water balloons on the rooftop, see her and attack her with one of them. Richard comes in her defense and uses obscene language on the elder kids. Mel watches them, warns, and punishes the boys and Richard without canteen for a week for being naughty. Mike returns to his bunk, wherein his friends tell him they have a match with their counselors. He says he will join them later and goes into the restroom to take a dump. While he was in the restroom, the assailant locked the door from outside and threw a honeycomb. Mike cries out for help and tries to get out of the restroom, but can't get out since it's blocked with a stick. He finally comes out by breaking the stick that blocks the door. He falls down unconsciously, and honeybees completely buzz around his face, biting and stinging it. Mel, who was worried about his death, discusses the fate of their camp with Ronnie. He also says he knows who did this and will take care of them. In the night, Paul and Angela sneak back to the lake. Paul makes an advance towards her, and she doesn't resist. At this point, an incident from her childhood flashed before her eyes. Along with her brother, she watches her father, John, lying inanimmately on the bed with another guy. Angela remembers this incident and pushes Paul away when he tries to get more intimate with her. The next morning, while playing a game of Capture the Flag, Paul asks Angela about her behavior the other night, but she brushes him and walks away. Taking this as an advantage, Judy lures Paul. Richard walks to Angela and devises a plan to capture the other team's flag to win the game. Initially reluctant, Angela accepts his proposal on persuasion. They sneak into the woods, only to see Paul and Judy kissing passionately. Angela leaves the woods angrily while Paul follows her. Judy looks at them with a laugh and resorts to crying at last. Back at the lake, Paul apologizes to Angela for his behavior while sitting at the shore. Paul leaves the place as Judy comes there and says that he calls Angela prude. Judy talks harshly with Angela, who stares at her blankly without responding. Richard talks about the camp with furious Mel, who suspects that he is the killer. Richard stares at the conversation between Angela and Judy from a distance. Counselor Meg comes and joins Judy. Angela still doesn't speak. Meg takes her and throws her in the lake. When Mel holds Richard and doesn't let him go, he unshackles himself and rescues Angela. Jean scolds Meg for being harsh on Angela. All other counselors get their respective duties, while Meg gets a night off. Meg goes to Mel and asks for a date night he promised earlier. Mel accepts her offer readily. As the shower in her bunk is crowded, Meg runs to another bunk to take a shower. This time, the assailant brutally stabs Meg from the back of the curtain. Counselor Eddie takes a group of young kids for a sleepover in the woods as part of his duty. Paul apologizes to Angela, saying he didn't mean what he said about her. Along with another elder kid, Judy crosses them when they block the way. Angela tells Paul to meet her at the waterfront after the social meeting. A couple of kids at the sleepover say they are feeling cold, and Eddie takes them back to the camp in the car, leaving other kids in the woods. The killer comes to the woods, and we see an axe blade in the dark. Mel inquires about Meg in the social room when she doesn't show up at his place as promised. Counselor Susie tells Mel to look at the bunk. At the bunk, Judy and another guy get comfortable. Mel arrives at the bunk, and the guy hides under the bed. Judy informs Mel that she saw Meg next door. Fearing that Mel will return again, the guy leaves Judy alone in the bunk. Mel goes looking for Meg, only to find her corpse. Mel gets infuriated and angrily says that he will take revenge for Meg's death. In the bunk, Judy brushes her hair with a dryer. The killer comes into the bunk she recognizes, and the assailant kills her while raping her with the dryer. After returning to the woods, Eddie finds that all the kids are viciously hacked to death by the killer. He gets scared and runs away from there. Ronnie receives a call from Eddie about the killings in the woods. Richard goes into the social room to get something to eat. Mel grabs Richard from behind, turns violently, and beats him mercilessly. When Mel tries to run away after Richard faints, he is killed by an arrow. Ronnie assembles all the counselors on the advice of the police who arrive at the camp. Susie comes and says that Angela and Judy are missing. The police officer informs all the counselors to take care of the kids and not leave them alone. Along with the police officer, Jean goes into the woods, only to find Richard lying injured and unconscious. Angela and Paul are talking at the lake. Angela asks Paul to take off his clothes to go swimming. The police officer and Jean bring Richard back into the bunk. The counselors and the police officer realize that Meg was also killed. With the aid of torches, Ronnie and Susie go in search of Angela, Paul, and the others. They see naked Angela from behind, caressing Paul's head in her lap. The scene flashes backwards to a point where Aunt Martha talks to a young boy, calling her a girl. It was revealed that Angela was actually a boy who survived the boat crash at the lake long ago. The scene cuts to the current day. As Angela stands up, Paul's decapitated head rolls from her lap. We see male genitalia hanging in between her legs, exposing that it's a boy, to the surprise of Ronnie and Susan. Angela screams loudly with her mouth open, and the movie ends with a greenish tinge. We hope you enjoyed our today's video. If you did like this video, smash the like button, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest and interesting videos.